Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the DRF. We're going to look at a stakes preview for this Saturday, April 1st at Santa Anita Park. They have the Grade 2 Royal Heroine as their 7th race, a mile on the turf. This is for fillies and mares 4 and up. We'll take a look at the field top to bottom. 6 have been entered in this spot. The morning line favorite in here is the number 3 Closing Remarks, who's had a very successful career so far. She is a 3-time winner, but she's kind of over that $400,000 purse earning mark, and she's ran some really big races so far. Also, some interesting horses to note. The number 1 School Dance was Grade 1 placed 3 starts back when this one finished second in the American Oaks while tackling stakes competition for the first time. And then the horse on the outside is the newcomer, Saysai. This one recently joined the John Sadler Bar. Now going to make that first start since coming from overseas, 3-1 on the morning line. So it is a compact field, but I do think it's an interesting one to go through. So we'll start with the number 1 School Dance. This horse most recently was 4th in the Grade 2 Buena Vista and was forwardly placed in that race. And actually, I want to jump right into the replay because several horses are going to come out of, or at least have raced in this race. The number 5 ends up being School Dance. The 1 is Closing Remarks. And the 8 is Nadette, all of which they'll tackle each other in this race on Saturday. But just looking at the trip the School Dance has, horse was forwardly placed in the stretch and is just going to be out finished in this race and kind of tires a little bit late. You can see other horses are making up ground where she's trying to hold on here, and she just is able to hold on for 4th. She's not beaten by much. She's beaten by a length and a half. My biggest concern is in her last 3. This has been a bit of a pattern, especially in those last 2. She was second in the Grade 1 American Oaks. I mentioned that when we looked at the slate. I will say it was a Grade 1. I don't know if that caliber of that field was truly a Grade 1, but what bodes well for her is when you look at the winner of her last 2 races, Quattro L, she's not facing her again, and she should be close to the pace. I think there's going to be some speed. There's going to be some other horses from, closing from off of it. So I do think she will get a good trip in here under Ramon Vasquez. The number 2, Honey Jar, I think is a very intriguing mare in here. She's lightly raced. She's a 5-year-old with only 8 starts under her belt. She comes in here fresh off a win. We're going to take a look at that race. It was going 6.5 furlongs on the downhill with some moisture in the turf, but I thought the way that she's able to get the lead in here and kick on, I thought she was very game in this race. Yes, she was 8-5. She raced how she should have, but considering the fractions of the race and the work that she had to do, I was really impressed with this effort. Now, Kazushi Kimura is going to climb aboard her on Saturday for the first time. It has had a lot of success with trainer Michael McCarthy, and just looking at her speed, even if you look at the race 2 back, she was able to really open up on the field in her only try going a mile. And I personally like horses when they stretch out, shorten up, and then stretch back out. And that's exactly what she's going to be doing on Saturday. I know she got caught 2 starts back, but I really think her second try at the mile, she could be extremely tough. She will get some pace pressure potentially from the number 5, Very Scary in here, but 5-1 on the morning line. I found her very intriguing in this race. The number 3, Closing Remarks. I gave her a lot of compliments when we looked at the slate. She's certainly going to be closing from off of it. We've seen that time and time again. Her last 2, she just hasn't been able to get up in time, but very similar to School Dance. She's, racing in those same races. She's not going to face Quattrell or horses such as Bay Storm, Queen of Goddess, and I think when you look at her late kick, she has a great closing kick. She's a very proven record, a very good record on the Santa Anita Park turf course. So she's a major player. She probably will go off favorite in here, and the price might be a short one to swallow. The number 4, Nadette. We showed that replay of the Buena Vista. She surrendered late in here to finish 5th by a length and a half. And I know in terms of her races since coming over here from her races in France, maybe not her best finish, but I thought the way she was able to kind of get the lead in there late after having a weird trip where she was far back early on, she made a really big move and then tired. I think it was understandable. And I thought Frankie Dettori rode her well, given the circumstances. I think they could team up here and certainly improve off of that effort. Now, her best effort in terms of in the money sort of finishes was her first start in the Grade 3 Autumn Miss. She ran very well. She tried to circle it from off the pace, try to circle the entire field, and just couldn't get to the winner in the end. So I do think she's extremely intriguing in here, and I do expect a better effort from her in the Royal Heroine. Now, I mentioned the number 5, Very Scary. Could be scary in terms of a pace scenario here because this horse has been able to take them gate to wire in her last 2 efforts. 2 starts back, was going a mile. She was much the best, recorded an 85 by her speed figure for that effort. And then more recently, race was carded for the turf. We all know that Santa Anita has not had ideal weather this race meet, so that race was washed off. She opened up on the field and ended up winning by 13 lengths. Now, it was a field of 4. I don't think you can really read into the margin of victory that much, knowing that it was a compact field. For her, the question is, What will she do getting back on the turf and facing some more seasoned fillies and mares? It's going to be a class test for her. I mentioned Honey Jar has early speed. You could go back and forth and say who's quicker. I think it's Honey Jar, but very scary. Certainly can apply up the pressure in this spot. And, the price will certainly be a good one on her as well. Then rounding out the field is the sneaky horse, the number 6, Saysai, out of the John Sadler barn. We don't know what she's going to do. She's shipping here. It's going to be her first start in North America, which from a stat perspective, 0 for 6 for John Sadler. But he does very well with horses off a bit of a freshening, especially this sort of length. And she has some backclass. I know it's been a while since she's won. You have to go back to August of 2021. But look at her in the summer of 2022. Second and third and fourth place finishes in those great Group 2, and Group 3 races. She faced some really nice horses above the curve, won that effort 2 starts back, would earn her spot in the filly and mare turf on Breeders' Cup Day. Lily Pond would ship over here for the Beverly D. I know she only finished 4th in that race, but she's faced some really nice horses in Ireland, so I'm curious to see what she'll do here. She is going to cut back significantly in distance from her last 2 outings, but when you go to her and you go to her races back in 2021, 7/8 or 7.5 furlongs was a really good distance for her. So I do think she's very intriguing here. And one thing to look at, got great work tab. It's very steady with kind of somewhat even spacing between the works, and they're all pretty sharp. So I do think she is a bit of a sleepy horse in the Royal Heroine. So that's the field top to bottom, the 6 runners. Closing remarks, I feel like will take a lot of respect in here, but I ended up going to the number 2, Honey Jar. And the reason I went to Honey Jar, as I mentioned, I love horses personally when they go long, shorten up and go long for the second time. It's only her second time going further than 6.5 furlongs. I do think she does have what it takes to maybe take them gate to wire in here, depending how much pace pressure she takes from the number 5. Very scary. 3 closing remarks is a logical player in here. Will be coming from off the pace, so the hotter the pace, the better for that one. And then you can see I went to the 6 and the 4 for my plays underneath. I took a wait and see approach with the 6, Saysai, just to see how this horse does transitioning to racing here in the United States. And then finally the number 4, Nadette. So for me, all in on Honey Jar in Saturday's Royal Heroine from Santa Anita. Good luck.